Higher awareness psychology is based on the idea that you can consciously and deliberately change your state of mind. But what was if there was something related to this idea that you were never told as you grew up? What if there is something about your mind and your ability to change it that you've never been told about? So this is what we're going to talk about here. And we talked about before that most of us were brought up to think that our psyche, our mind, is something we don't have the power to change. There can be traditional religion which says we were created by God the way we are. There can be scientific materialism which says we are a product of our genetic inheritance and what happened to us as we were growing up, nature and nurture. But both of these are saying essentially the same thing. You don't have the power to consciously and deliberately change your state of mind. This is, of course, what HAP disputes, and here's why. So let's start with the scientific materialism. Scientific materialism says you can't change your state of mind because your mind is a product of the physical brain. In other words, the conditions in your brain determine your personality, your beliefs about life, your outlook on life, your state of mind. And if you want to change your state of mind, you have to change something in the physical brain. Take some kind of drug or something else. This is essentially what materialism has been saying for decades. Now, obviously, if you had believed in this fully, you wouldn't be even watching this. And obviously, there are millions of people who don't believe in this and who have pursued ways to change your mind. But let's just look at this scientific claim, because it's actually not in accordance with scientific discoveries. And so we can ask the question, what is the mind? What is your mind? And here's one way to explain it. You've probably seen this little formula. This is, of course, Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared. But let's look at what it actually means. So what we can do, which we all learned in school in math, we can perform a little trick where we divide with a certain factor on both sides of the equal sign. So now we are dividing with c squared. And of course, over here, they annul each other. So what we get in now is that E divided by c squared equals m. And of course, you probably remember that E is energy, c squared is the speed of light, which is a very big number, and m is mass. So remember what scientific materialism says? The physical brain, which is mass, produces the mind. But that contradicts Einstein, because Einstein says that mass is produced from energy that has been reduced in vibration. In other words, energy is clearly a form of vibration. We all learned that in school, that we have visible light and we have higher forms of light like ultraviolet that we can't see with our eyes, because there's a scale from lower to higher vibrations, frequencies, amplitude, wavelength. So basically what Einstein said, and this was in 1905, he came up with this formula, is that matter is really created from energy. Meaning, matter is not the cause of energy. Energy is the cause of matter. Which means your brain cannot be the cause of your mind, because your mind is made from a higher form of energy than the physical brain. And that means that you can change your mind by changing your mind. You don't have to go through the route of changing your physical brain in order to change your mind. And this is important because it opens up a whole different way of looking at psychology. Because now we can see that if we really want to understand what the psyche is, what the mind is, we have to include our knowledge of energy. And basically what we can say is that the mind or the psyche is an energy field. And you may say, well, why is that important? What does that matter? Well, it matters because there are many forms of energy, invisible forms of energy, we can't detect them with the physical senses, that can affect our state of mind. So right now, for example, it's not uncommon for people to experience depression. In fact, some surveys have been done that show that 2/3 of all people are likely to experience depression during their lifetime. Right now, materialism explains this, that something happens in your physical brain that causes you to feel depressed. And therefore, you have to try and find some kind of drug that can chemically alter your brain so you cannot feel depressed. But first of all, this has limited effectiveness, and second of all, it can lead to a number of side effects, and it can actually cause people to be depressed in the long term rather than just for a short while. So it's not the ideal solution. But what if depression is because your mind has been invaded by low vibration energy that affects you, that affects your state of mind, simply because there is energy that weighs you, that affects your psyche. You see, what scientists have discovered about energy is that it behaves as a wave, it moves as a wave. And what you can actually have is you can have different forms of energy waves that interact with each other. And basically you can say that the entire physical universe is created from energy fields that are interacting with each other. So your physical body is not made of physical matter, because there is no matter. All matter is energy fields that interact with each other to create what we perceive as matter through the senses. In other words, matter isn't solid. We actually know this because we learned in school that what we see as physical matter, this glass, which is pretty hard, it's made of molecules that are smaller units we can't see. It's made of atoms, and the atoms are actually mostly empty space. So there is, in the atom, there is a core of the atom, and then there are electrons zooming around that core. And most of it is empty space. It's like you look at the solar system. There is hard matter in the Earth and the other planets, but most of it is empty space. And what scientists really have discovered, especially through quantum physics, is that there is actually no solid particles. What appears to be solid particles are also energy waves that interact. So what you have is that you can have one energy wave that meets another energy wave, and as a result of this, you produce a third wave. And this means that your mind is an energy field right now. Your subconscious mind is an energy field. If you are exposed to certain energies that enter your subconscious energy field, they interact with the energies that are already there, and it can affect your conscious life experience, your conscious state of mind. So let's just take one example, right? You probably know some people who have a tendency to become angry very easily. If they don't get their way, if things don't go the way they want, their default reaction is anger. And you may have observed that some of these people get more and more angry over time. So how do you explain this? Well, what if the subconscious mind is an energy field? And as people engage in anger, they are producing anger energy, vibrations of anger inside their field, but they may even attract anger energy from the outside, and the result is that this anger energy, which is just a frequency, right, it accumulates in the mind. Now you will, for example, probably heard that when somebody's really angry, it's like they see red, because people can actually get so angry that they visibly see red light with their physical eyes. And so let's just, as an example, let's just say that anger energy is infrared energy. So if your mind is an energy field and infrared energy accumulates in your field, so it becomes more and more dominated by this red energy, then does it not stand to reason that this accumulated energy can affect your state of mind? We know, for example, we have the popular saying, like attracts like. So basically you can say, if your mind is an energy field, you have a part of your mind that's your conscious attention. That's what you're putting your conscious attention on. So right now you're consciously watching this video. But in your subconscious mind, you have these accumulations of energy. And does it not stand to reason that this energy that's accumulated in your subconscious mind can pull on, can attract your conscious attention? So let's say you have a person who has a tendency to become angry. The person now encounters a situation where things don't go the way he or she wants. So the conscious mind of that person is now pulled into what I in earlier videos called a reactionary pattern. But this reactionary pattern is really a structure in the subconscious mind. And part of that structure is an accumulation of anger energy. There's also a belief that if I don't get my way, the only way to react is to become angry, for example. Or it's justified that I become angry when people don't do what I want. So you see what I'm saying? The person is encountering a certain situation. The conscious mind, the conscious attention, is now pulled into this pattern, this structure in the subconscious mind, partly because of the belief, but also because of the accumulated energy. So you see why this is significant? Because the more energy accumulates in the subconscious mind, the more of a pull is there on the conscious attention, which means the person consciously has less and less power to resist the subconscious pattern. The more anger energy, the more of a magnetic pull, and the less the person can decide, oh, I'm not going to become angry in this situation. So you see what I'm saying? If you're not aware that your mind is an energy field, you can live your whole life, and throughout your life, you're accumulating more and more of these anger, fear, frustration, all kinds of fear-based energies in your subconscious energy field. And as they accumulate, they have more and more of a pull on your conscious mind. You are pulled into these patterns. And that can be why you become more angry, why you become depressed, why you have all kinds of psychological issues. Because you're simply not aware that there is this energy component. Take note, I'm not saying that the energy is the cause of your psychological issues, but it's a very big factor in how much power they have over your conscious mind. So what HAP is proposing is that if you really want to change your state of mind, you need to understand this energy equation. And you need to learn how to deal with this energy. Because there's a lot of things you can do. You can prevent it from accumulating. You can even transform some of the energy that's already accumulated. And of course you can dissolve the subconscious patterns that are causing the energy to accumulate or causing you to even attract it from the outside. You can learn how to actually protect your subconscious mind from being invaded by energies from the outside. I mean, have you ever in your life been in a situation where you felt like you were exposed to this subtle energy, we might call it psychic energy or emotional energy or mental energy from other people. You can have somebody who is very angry with you, and as they are blaming you for something, can you feel that something stirs in your energy field? That you are becoming, maybe you're becoming angry, or maybe you're becoming defensive, or you feel shame or guilt or whatever. So this is because your energy field, your subconscious energy field, is being invaded by these psychic energies from the other person. And you can learn how to protect yourself from this so that, again, as we have said before, you can learn how to take command over your state of mind. And that is what HAP, as we move on, will show you how to do, and it will give you some practical tools and techniques for how to deal with this energetic component of your mind.